Chapter 2134. What about you? Do you have any opinion? I tell you, I have seen countless beautiful women in my life. In the eyes of those people, you are very ordinary and plain. Dustless suddenly attacked, and this proud girl was really self-righteous. Dustless also knew that Temptress Majo had a shadow and was more hostile to men, but she couldn't kill a boat of men because of a scum. Good boy, you have guts. Temptress Majo bit her thin lips and glared. When she was about to teach Dustless a lesson, she suddenly saw the concert ticket in his hand and suddenly giggled. She was like a blooming snow lotus, elegant and refined. She was different. Although she was very cold and piercing, it was difficult to dislike her. Although this chick is a little proud, I have to say that she does have the capital to be proud. The crisp laughter was like the sound of nature, just like the code name of Temptress Majo as an elf, songstress. Her talent in singing was really superior. You keep saying that you hate me, but you still came to my concert. Is this a confession without being pressed? With her hands on her hips, Temptress Majo's aura was very strong and domineering. Her exquisite gem-like eyes were full of the luster of a winner. It seemed that she had already seen the scene of defeating Dustless. Don't call me boy, my name is Dustless. I am enough to be your grandfather. Dustless responded plainly. You. Temptress Majo was angry and said angrily, Dustless, right? Don't change the subject for me, you haven't answered my question yet. Did you see it? Wuchen shook the plastic bag in his hand and said with boredom, I'm just accompanying others to your concert. This is your good fortune from your previous life. You. Temptress Majo glared at Dustless fiercely, and her silver teeth were almost broken. Can this hateful bastard speak more irritating? Who is Temptress Majo? She was the goddess of countless men's dreams. Her heavenly voice had won the hearts of countless men. Among her fans, 90% were men. However, this bastard in front of her didn't give her any face. He even mocked her time and time again. It was simply unforgivable. You'll be my slave soon. Tempting Night Beauty Joe's lips curled into a cold arc. She suddenly cleared her throat and a pleasant song came out of her mouth. The rhythm was very good, the intonation was very elegant and gentle, and the voice was also very magnetic and soft. It sounded quite good. However, Dustless wasn't interested in it. He just stared at the entrance in the distance. When he saw that Itsuki Kodori and the others were about to enter the venue, he muttered to himself. Time's up, let's go back. Leaving such a sentence, Wuchen turned around and left. You, don't go. Hey, are you kidding me? You came here to listen to my concert, and now I'm singing for you alone. How blissful is that? Do you understand? Temptress Majo was dumbfounded. She stared at Wuchen who was leaving straight away. For a moment, she was dumbfounded. As long as she called, she didn't know how many men would go through water and tread on fire for her and agree to all her requests. But what was the matter with this hateful stinky brat? He's really a stone in the latrine pit. He's smelly and stubborn. Are you crazy? Dustless turned around and said to Temptress Majo. She said coldly, I'll say it again. Your brother's singing is good. What does it have to do with me? I'm just here to accompany someone else. Anne. Do you see this? Dustless took out 2 pieces of ear cotton and said very seriously, I'll sleep when you sing later. To be honest, I'm afraid that you'll disturb my sleep. Goodbye, don't call me again. You bastard, stop right there. I didn't allow you to leave. Temptress Majo quickly chased after Dustless. Unfortunately, she was too slow and didn't manage to grab hold of his hand. Despicable brat, you forced me to do this. Seeing this, Temptress Majo was furious. She clasped her hands together and sang again with a devout expression. The sound of nature once again came out of her throat. It also had a special power that she had never had before. This is, when the song entered Dustless's ears, his body suddenly stopped. Moreover, his eyes were empty and he was very dull. He had turned into a walking corpse. Come here. Temptress Meijio smiled arrogantly. This time, Dustless didn't violate Temptress Meijio's will. He turned around obediently. His eyes were hazy. It was obvious that he had been controlled by Temptress Meijio's singing. You still want to fight with me? Despicable men are all the same. Temptress Meijio said disdainfully. She immediately hooked her white fingers and smiled charmingly. Come here. As soon as her voice fell, Dustless walked over in a daze. I'm so tired. Temptress Meijio sighed. After talking to Dustless for a while, she was very angry. She immediately glared at Dustless fiercely. Watch how I deal with you. At the same time, Dustless also walked over to Temptress Meijio. His eyes were already dull. Temptress Meijio was very satisfied when she saw Dustless's appearance. You fought with me and said so many disgusting words. Don't think that I will let you go so easily. Xiao Meijio curiously walked around Dustless and whispered, this guy is so beautiful and his skin is so white. It's even better than mine. It's hard to suspect that he's a boy. How disappointing. Temptress Meijio lamented. Her dead heart suddenly throbbed. She sincerely hoped that Dustless was a fair and beautiful girl. But, Temptress Meijio stared at Itsuki Kotori and the others. She stroked her chin and smiled, leave your female companions to me. I will serve them well. Temptress Meijio chuckled, but she didn't see Dustless's cold smile. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus more chapters, 3,000 rewards plus more chapters, 1,000 reviews plus more chapters, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more chapters. Chapter 2136. You. Aren't you embarrassed to bully a girl? Her white cheeks were flushed red, and after a long time, tempting Meijio finally said such incompetent and sullen words. When her voice fell, even tempting Meijio herself was stunned, as if she did not expect herself to say such cowardly words. In the past, she was the one who bullied others. Who dared to challenge her like this? Only Dustless, this weirdo, was not charmed by her, and even humiliated tempting Meijio again and again. Girl. That's rare. Dustless's face showed a faint smile, and he still teased, from what you did before, I don't think you are a girl anymore. It's rare to see a girl as violent and barbaric as you. You. Are you still a man? You even bully a girl. Hearing this, Temptress Beauty Jo clenched her fists. If it wasn't for the difference in strength, she really wanted to punch this bastard to death. His face was already infuriating enough, but his words were even more infuriating. Hee hee. Dustless laughed twice, and his eyes suddenly became unscrupulous. He stared at tempting Meijio's plump figure. Do you want to try whether I am a man or not? Stinky rogue. Tempting Meijio's face was slightly red, and she spat softly. Am I wrong? Are you a girl? Dustless continued to tease, you are obviously a tigress. Don't be too proud. Unable to bear it any longer, Xiao Meijio was enraged. Surging waves of spiritual force broke out from her body and the void suddenly distorted. A terrifying sphere spun and occupied the blue sky. Perhaps it would not be long before it became a terrifying spatial earthquake. You want to fight just because of a disagreement. Sure enough, you are a tigress. Looking at the changes in the sky, Dustless was still teasing the girl. His plain face was fearless as he lazily said, anyway, even if AST is attracted here, those little girls won't find trouble with me. But you, seductive beauty Miss Jo, if AST knows that you're an elf, can you still live in peace? Hearing these words, Temptress Majo's expression suddenly stiffened, and her expression suddenly became extremely gloomy. She took a deep breath, stabilized herself, and retracted her spiritual power. She couldn't wait to beat Wu Qin into a pig's head. She sneered, "You win, scum." "What did you call me?" "Scum." Dustless showed a pained expression and said resentfully, "Sure enough, Tigress is unreasonable. Just wait and see." A fragrant wind blew in front of Dustless, and then charming Knight Majo disappeared, forever disappearing from Dustless's sight. "You run pretty fast." Staring at the back of Temptress Majo, Dustless picked up the bag and slowly walked to the concert venue. The whole person looked comfortable and did not care about the threat of Temptress Majo. In Dustless's view, this was just asking for humiliation. With the strength of Knight Tempter Majo, she was still far from being able to shake him. Chapter 2137. She doesn't have the guts. The corner of Dustless's mouth raised a faint arc. He was full of confidence. Tempting Knight Majo to treat him as a jinx and stay away from him, let alone provoke him. I'm afraid that the words, "Dustless," will become her nightmare. Maybe when she has nightmares in the future, she will meet Dustless's annoying face. Tempting Knight Majo herself hates men very much, even more than cockroaches. The reason is actually very simple. When Tempting Knight Majo became famous, some entertainment companies wanted to use the unspoken rules on her, but Tempting Knight Majo resolutely refused. Some entertainment companies were unwilling to discredit Tempting Knight Majo, causing her to be condemned by the public. It was in this moment of worry that Tempting Knight Majo obtained the powerful power of the elf and resolved this crisis. Since then, she has become extremely hateful of humans. Although she deserves sympathy, she can't hate all the men in the world because of a group of scumbags. She is unreasonable. Dustless muttered to himself, "Let's just go with the flow. You can watch the concert in peace." Dustless waved his hand and gave everyone a comforting look. At the same time, all the lights on the stage were shining. Tempting Knight Majo and her dance and singing partners were standing on the stage very elegantly. She looks, but she is somewhat beautiful. No wonder she is so arrogant. Dustless stared at the girl for a moment. When he met Tempting Knight Majo just now, she was not dressed up. She was very casual. It was just an ordinary school uniform, but it was already very outstanding. Now, Tempting Knight Majo was wearing a noble dress. She was like a fairy who had fallen to the mortal world. She was beautiful and moving. Her big eyes were very smart. Her delicate little face was white and flawless. She was very sacred. "Hello, everyone. I am Tempting Knight Majo. Welcome to my concert. Thank you for your long-term support. Today is a special day." "Thank you." Tempting Knight Majo gently lifted her dress and immediately bowed with a very elegant expression. There was a comfortable smile on her face. She was very kind and gentle. There was a feeling that one couldn't help but want to open their hearts. Is this still the seductive Majo? When Dustless saw the girl with a smile on her face, he was speechless. He sighed that the showbiz circle was really deep, and people who were too shallow were not suitable for it. When she met Dustless, Knight Temptress Majo had a humiliating expression. Now, the speed of her face change really made Dustless stunned. He had to raise his middle finger to Knight Temptress Majo. The speed at which he changed his expression was faster than flipping through a book. So, on this special day, today's concert will be different from the past. In the following time, I will be inviting my fans to sing with me on stage. At this moment, Dustless's expression was particularly attractive in their eyes. After all, it was the first time that they saw Dustless so depressed. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. That meant, you said before that you had nothing to do with the seductress Meijo, and you were even an enemy, but now she invited you to sing on the same stage, and you still dare to say that there was no scandal. At the same time, all the audience's eyes were focused on Dustless's head. Everyone was burning with jealousy. They couldn't wait to tear Dustless into pieces. Well, this kid was so lucky. You idiots, she deliberately messed with me and retaliated against me for humiliating her before. This Meijo really knows how to play. She made me the target of public criticism all of a sudden. Dustless found that countless men were looking at him with unkind eyes. They couldn't wait to swallow him alive. He complained incessantly, sighing that he was smart all his life, but now he was stupid. He didn't expect to be defeated by Meijo this time. Besides, not to mention the male audience, even Yatakami and Toka were staring at Dustless angrily. They were obviously complaining that Dustless went out to attract women. Your private life is too unrestrained. You need to control it. Itsuki Kotori was the first to speak. Control my ass. I didn't do anything. I'm living a pure life like a monk. Dustless looked at Itsuki Kotori and complained, also, didn't you want me to be the conqueror god? Why did you change your mind? Didn't you want me to conquer fairies every day? I'm trying to persuade you on behalf of Toka and Toka. Itsuki Kotori glared at Dustless and sat down without saying anything. Meijo, since you want to play, I'll play with you. Just don't cry. At this point, Wu Chen was no longer entangled. He restrained his complicated thoughts. Under the astonishment of countless people, he calmly walked out of the auditorium and calmly walked to the stage. You want to fight with me? I'll make you cry this time. Meijo was stunned for a second and then smiled brightly. She thought Dustless would be scared, but he only hesitated for a second and then walked up to the stage calmly. That was the best outcome. She could embarrass Dustless and make Dustless the public enemy of her fans. He would never have a peaceful life in the future. Thank you for your cooperation, audience number 128. Meijo had a beautiful smile on her face. When she saw Dustless walk up to her, she whispered, "Kid, just you wait. I won't forgive you for what you did before." The show is about to begin. After being spanked by Dustless, Meijo, who hated men, couldn't take it anymore. It's up to you. Anyway, I don't care. I'll take whatever moves you have. Wu Chen responded casually. He immediately took the microphone sent by Night Tempter Meijo with a calm expression. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus more chapters, 3,000 rewards plus more chapters, 1,000 comments plus more chapters, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more chapters. Chapter 2139. Damn it, why is this guy asking for a beating? Whoever kills him for me, I'll give him 1 billion yen. Me too, my goddess has been defiled by a pig. Why is that brat so lucky? What god does he believe in? I'll believe in him in the future. That's right, because Xiao Meijo had said some ambiguous words to Dustless, it caused all the male compatriots to complain about Dustless. Everyone stared at him with extreme displeasure, with a ferocious look, as if they wanted to rush onto the stage and beat up Dustless. This brat actually defiled their goddess, 10,000 deaths would not be enough to absolve him. Your fans are really crazy. But are you planning to use them to deal with me? What a joke, as an elf, I can't do anything to you, let alone this group of people. It's really funny, children are children. Dustless's cheeks drooped, his lowered gaze spread around, and secretly clenched his fists. If there was an idiot who didn't know what was good for him, he didn't mind teaching him how to behave. No, Xiao Meijo was tempted to approach Dustless. Under the gaze of countless burning eyes, she was very close to Dustless's cheek. She gently blew a breath of hot air on his face, and said with a smile full of admiration, "It's because your charm is too great, my dear. I can't help but fall in love with you." These words were like igniting a barrel of gunpowder, and the explosive atmosphere of the entire concert reached its peak. "Damn it, whoever kills that brat, I'll give 10 billion yen. I really regret not bringing the guns that I secretly hid at home. When the concert is over, I'll make him disappear from this world." The male compatriots wailed angrily, glaring at Dustless with murderous eyes, as if Dustless had once killed their biological parents. It had to be said that once the groupies went crazy, they were really terrifying. Even if it was a mountain of knives and a sea of fire, they didn't mind giving it a try. A bunch of idiots. How could they be so easily manipulated? Can't they see that this brat is doing it on purpose? Taking in everyone's gaze, Dustless secretly scolded that there were idiots every year, but there were especially many today. Night Beauty 9 was a lesbian and hated men very much. She must have said that she was infatuated with Dustless on purpose. Her purpose was to help Dustless attract hatred. Ha ha ha. This is going to be a good show. Temptress Meijio smiled coquettishly. Her charming face was filled with schadenfreude. Looking at the angry male audience, she was secretly pleased. She was sure that if she added fuel to the fire, this group of people would rush up and beat up Dustless. Do you feel happy about using your fans? Do you feel a sense of accomplishment? Dustless stared at the face in front of him as he asked in a flat tone. You, looking at Dustless's eyes, Night Beauty 9 suddenly felt very cold. Looking at Dustless, she had a strange illusion that she was talking to an ice cube. His eyes were calm and filled with endless indifference. Are you admitting defeat? Taking a deep breath, Night Beauty 9 suppressed the throbbing in her heart and asked, If you admit defeat, I will let you go now, but from now on, you will be my slave, Dustless. No, you will be number 001. Are you qualified? Those who dare to talk to me like this have all become a pair of bones. Do you think your end will be better than theirs? The corners of Dustless's mouth curled up slightly, and he asked with contempt. This arrogant girl was too self-righteous. She was just an elf, and she wanted him to surrender. She was simply delusional. In other words, you refuse my conditions. Then don't regret it. Now is my home ground. I can make you the target of public criticism at any time. Night Beauty 9 smiled dangerously, like a fox's smile. She took a deep look at Dustless, and then looked at the tens of thousands of viewers. Obviously, she came up with some bad ideas. Does this guy really think that I am a soft persimmon that can be pinched at will? Dustless frowned slightly, and the corner of his mouth raised a treacherous smile. He laughed in his heart. Night Beauty 9, since you want to play, I will accompany you to the end. Just don't cry in the end. Cough cough cough. Today, in front of all my fans, I want to announce a very serious decision that is related to the second half of my life. Night Tempter Meijio held the microphone and her soft voice resounded through the entire venue. Under everyone's gaze, Night Tempter Meijio finally looked at the indifferent and old-fashioned Wu Qin and laughed secretly. Boy, I'll let you bear the consequences. My fans will definitely not let you off. Dustless, Kun, Night Beauty 9 whispered softly, and her eyes were blurred. She deserved to be in the entertainment circle. The speed of her face change was absolutely unparalleled. This is bad. Do we need to leave early? Many people saw that we came with Dustless. If we get involved, we will be unlucky. Murasame Rain's eyes were dripping, and she looked around without a trace. She took in the changes in the expressions of the crazy male audience. Everyone looked at Dustless with extreme hatred. This guy had offended the public. There is no doubt that Night Beauty 9 is intentional. The more she flirts with Dustless, the more excited these fans will be. If the situation is out of control, Dustless will be unlucky. Humph, it is this guy's fault for attracting bees and butterflies, but he doesn't know that dating should be stopped. Now, it's good to let him be unlucky once. Don't worry about it, just watch with peace of mind. Waving her hand, Itsuki Kotori ordered very seriously. Her crystal pupils were obviously jumping to watch a good show, waiting for Dustless to be unlucky. Chapter 2140. Murasame Rain was also extremely helpless about this, and at the same time, her eyes were locked on Kotori. Her clear eyes penetrated the depths of people's hearts, looking at Kotori without blinking. Is there something wrong? Kotori's eyes moved over, and she didn't dare to look at Murasame Rain's eyes. She was inexplicably panicked by her, and she had an illusion that the biggest secret in her heart was exposed. Commander, you can't be. Murasame Rain leaned close to Kotori's ear and asked carefully, Commander, these days, your behavior is very strange, especially after Dustless sealed your power. You don't like Dustless, do you? Like her? How can it be? Kotori was like a cat whose tail was stepped on. She stood up from her seat and said without thinking, all the men in the world are dead, I can barely consider that scum. Kotori, you. The rest of the group turned their heads to look at Itsuki Kotori with astonishment in their eyes. They were all wondering if she was mentally ill. Even if not, you don't have to be so excited, right? Murasame Rain saw Kotori, who was staring at her, and rolled her eyes. She was so abnormal because she cared. Anyway, it confirmed Murasame Rain's guess. Arrogant brat, I'd like to see what tricks you have up your sleeves. Bring it on. Blink your eyes and I'll be your slave from now on. Lowering his head to look at Night Beauty Joe's delicate little face, Wu Chen's eyes were bright and his tone was carefree. Not only that, but Wu Chen also looked at Temptress Meijo with a sneer. At this moment, facing the girl's threat, not only was Wu Chen not afraid, but he also ridiculed Temptress Meijo even more, deliberately provoking her. You dare to be arrogant at this time? Do you really think I'm a useless vase? Night Tempter Meijo was obviously not to be trifled with. Her beautiful eyes were full of fire. After taking a deep look at Wu Chen, she immediately looked at the audience with a smile. She looked arrogant, as if she had already seen the wonderful scene of crushing Wu Chen. Today, I have something to announce to everyone. Beauty Joe's eyes were shining, exuding a dazzling brilliance. Her whole body carried a huge momentum, and her gentle eyes gently swept the audience. Pointing at Dustless, Beauty Joe smiled cunningly. His name is Dustless. From today, he is my boyfriend. Please take care of him. These words caused the entire place to fall silent. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the Temptress Meijo. Countless sounds of heartbreak could be heard. Ah! My goddess was taken by a pig. Boyfriend? Are you kidding me? Who allowed that? I will never agree. I don't agree. That guy looks like a gigolo. Other than being handsome, what use does he have? The scene took advantage of the situation for a while, and then it caused a huge uproar. Countless male spectators glared at Wu Chen with fire in their eyes. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus more chapters, 3,000 rewards plus more chapters, 1,000 comments plus more chapters, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more chapters. The scene that almost went berserk suddenly died down after Temptress Meijo stirred it up. There was dead silence. The goddess actually cried. Which brat did it? The male audience was furious. Temptress Meijo was the goddess in everyone's dream. Now someone actually made her cry. He should be put into a frying pan. This guy is really bad. He really knows how to play. Dustless frowned slightly. He took a deep look at Temptress Meijo and vaguely caught the pride in the girl's eyes. But don't regret it. Dustless muttered to himself in his heart. His frowning brows loosened. He had already guessed Temptress Meijo's evil idea. Fight with me. You are finished. Her white jade-like fingers suddenly pointed at Dushless. Temptress Meijo cried with a sad face. She was extremely pitiful. She sobbed, "He already has a girlfriend and asked me to be his mistress. He also said that I am ugly and said that I am not qualified to be his girlfriend." Woo-woo. In the end, she seemed to have touched the wound in her heart. Temptress Meijo's sobbing sound became louder and harsher. Ha! Hearing this, not only the audience was stunned, but even Wu-chin also looked at the tearful Temptress Meijo inconceivably. In his heart, he secretly said, "Damn, you're really an actress. You're invincible when you talk nonsense. When did I say that I want you to be a mistress? Kill this ungrateful brat. He is simply a scum. He is even worse than an animal. Yes, let's kill him together." After a moment of silence, the audience suddenly burst into an earth-shattering roar. They rushed over in a rage. Their ferocious appearance was comparable to ghosts. Everyone held a bench in their hands. They looked like they wanted to die together with Dushless. "Ha ha ha, you are finished." Seeing this scene, Temptress Meijo wiped away her tears and looked at Dustless gloatingly. "This bastard is finished this time." "Is it?" Wu-chin just glanced at the audience as if nothing had happened. Facing the enraged audience, he was not afraid. Instead, he took the initiative to take a few steps forward and looked at the male audience who rushed over with his eyes like torches. "You want to kill them?" Temptress Meijo frowned and then shook her head. If Dustless really did so, there would be no place for him in this world. "Since you want to play so much, then I will accompany you to the end." Dustless looked around. His deep eyes suddenly burst out a wave of power, followed by an invisible impact in his body that swept out instantly. Boom boom boom. The invisible wave was extremely oppressive and swept over everyone. The crazy crowd stopped at the same time. Under the horrified gaze of Temptress Meijo, they fell to the ground in disbelief. What did you do?" Temptress Meijo screamed and looked closely. Everyone was foaming at the mouth and rolling their eyes. In an instant, thousands of viewers fainted. "I just used Haoshiku Haki to stun them." Facing the girl's questioning eyes, Dushless answered indifferently. "P.S. 3,000 flowers plus more, 3,000 rewards plus more, 1,000 evaluation votes plus more, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more." Chapter 2142. She just fainted. Hearing Dustless's indifferent answer, Beauty Temptress's face that was not stained with dirt showed some confusion. "She just fainted. Isn't it too easy to say?" Thousands of spectators attacked without hesitation, showing no mercy at all. "Don't waste time. Use all your means. Don't waste my time." Dustless waved his hand impatiently. "It's boring to talk to you here. You bastard. Am I that annoying? Pay attention to your words and tone." Hearing this, the nameless fire in Temptress Meijo's heart rose straight up. Her bright eyes stared at Wu-chin. She was hit hard by his annoyed tone. All along, she had been loved by everyone. Especially after obtaining the power of an elf, Temptress Meijo's temperament became even more arrogant and she became an existence above others. But as the saying goes, everything is an exception. Dustless's attitude was full of disgust, which made Beauty Temptress feel quite shocked. She even suspected that there was something wrong with her beauty. "If there's nothing else, I'm going back to sleep." Dustless coldly glanced at Beauty Temptress. He labeled her as boring in his heart and then left. "You! Stop right there. Who allowed you to leave?" Beauty Temptress was stunned. She quickly shouted, "Put down all my fans. How can I explain to them if you leave so casually?" "Fans?" Hearing this, Dustless stopped. He turned his head and sneered at Beauty Temptress. "Since you can use this group of idiots, why can't I attack them?" What's more, you deliberately made things difficult for me. I'm already merciful that I didn't find trouble with you. Don't push it, little girl. I'm not going to talk nonsense with you. In short, you have to stay. Beauty Temptress asked herself if it was Dustless's fault for bickering. His sharp tongue made her speechless every time. However, what made Meijio lose face was that Dustless did not pay attention to her and left on his own. He did not even turn his head to look at Meijio. Despicable fellow, could it be that being in the same space as this old lady isn't as comfortable as sleeping with you? Temptress Meijio stomped her feet in anger. This feeling of being looked down upon caused her self-esteem to suffer a blow. Temptress Meijio had always been an existence surrounded by stars wherever she went. Now that she was ignored by Dustless, her heart was immediately filled with anger. Of course, there was also a hint of curiosity and confusion. Unlike the others, Night Tempter Meijio could clearly feel that the way Dustless looked at her didn't have that kind of deep possessiveness. It was very normal and calm. To put it bluntly, it was as if he was looking at a man. Women were such unpredictable creatures. Sometimes if you took the initiative to pay attention to the other party, they might ignore you. But when you ignored them, they would feel extremely uncomfortable. This was the case for Beauty Temptress Meijio. She had always been praised to the sky, but now someone suddenly pulled her down and kicked her twice. Beauty Temptress Meijio was really disgusted, but at the same time, there was an indescribable special feeling. And, I'm just curious, Beauty Temptress Meijio comforted herself in her heart. At the same time, she glanced at Dustless gloomily. Seeing that this guy completely ignored her words, the spiritual power in her body slowly erupted. Boom boom boom. The hurricane-like spiritual power fluctuations swept across the audience. The already messy concert was even more unbearable at this moment. It was messy as if they had come to a second-hand furniture market. There were visible cracks on the seats. Immediately afterward, a pleasant song suddenly sounded. This clear and pleasant voice was very warm, like the sun in the cold winter. It made people want to relax and enjoy it. This chick doesn't accept a lesson at all. I just taught her a lesson. In such a short time, did she forget the pain? Dustless frowned. He clearly felt a special spiritual power hitting his mind, trying to control his thoughts. It's just that Dustless's spiritual power is too strong. This weak spiritual power has little impact on him, and it has no effect at all. He can deal with it calmly. Let's leave for now. Dustless shook his head. If he didn't have to, he really didn't want to bully a girl. Although he killed countless people, Dustless still has his own principles. As long as Beauty Temptress Meijio is obedient, Dustless doesn't mind letting her go. But now, it seems that his kindness was ignored by the other party. That's it for today. I'll take you to other places to play later. Dustless looked at Itsuka Kotori and others. When he used Haoshiku Haki to clear the area, he didn't target them. However, Itsuka Kotori and others didn't respond to Dustless. They just looked at Beauty Temptress Meijio with empty eyes, and their cheeks were dull. Seeing that Itsuka Kotori and others ignored him, Dustless looked at them carefully. He saw that all of them were still looking at Beauty Temptress Meijio with a very sincere expression. His face suddenly turned gloomy. You used your ability to control Toka and the others. Dustless clenched his fists suddenly. He didn't like to get angry, but some people always like to seek death. He. Your gloomy cheeks are wonderful. It's the most wonderful expression I've ever seen in my life. Hearing this, Beauty Temptress Meijio laughed out loud. The crisp and pleasant voice naturally evolved into a musical note, which is very pleasant to listen to. People with weak willpower will fall into it if they don't pay attention. Is that so? Dustless looked at Beauty Temptress Meijio faintly. Maybe it's really wonderful, but the price you have to pay for seeing this face is very heavy. Chapter 2143. Is it? Dustless looked at Temptress Majo faintly, and his eyes emitted a cold hostility. Maybe it's really wonderful, but the price you have to pay for seeing this face is very heavy. When these words fell, the scene suddenly became extremely oppressive, and it was filled with an austere oppressive atmosphere. Unknowingly, it became extremely difficult to breathe. Dustless's silent eyes revealed a fierce light, and his ruthless eyes looked at Temptress Majo unscrupulously. To some extent, Temptress Majo had really touched Dustless's reverse scale. He hated this kind of person who threatened him the most in his life. He absolutely couldn't let it go easily, no matter who it was. Anyone can talk nonsense. Don't think that I will be afraid of you. Temptress Majo looked at Dustless without fear. Perhaps because she was really angry, her proud cleavage swayed up and down, and the soul-stirring arc was wonderful and refreshing. However, the scene at the moment was extremely cold, and no one appreciated it. Although Temptress Majo and Dustless were tit for tat, her eyes were obviously evasive. Obviously, she lacked confidence and was very afraid of Dustless's strength. After all, she had suffered several big losses before, and it was inevitable that it left a shadow in her heart. All of you, go for me. Don't leave him alone. Beat this kid to death. I don't believe that he dares to fight back. Without nonsense, Temptress Majo waved her hand gently. Shixiang and others who were controlled trembled, and then they rushed to Dustless with empty eyes. Shoo shoo shoo. One after another, beautiful silhouettes rushed over and surrounded him from all directions. These people are your friends. I don't believe that you can do it. Temptress Majo chuckled. Although Dustless gave people a cold feeling, she knew that Dustless cared about Shixiang and others from the bottom of his heart. Being able to accompany them to watch her concert explained everything. Therefore, Temptress Majo could conclude that Dustless would never hurt Shixiang and others, so she could only wait for death. Do you think you can defeat me by relying on them? This idea is too naive and ignorant. The mocking tone rang in her ears. Xiao Majo was stunned for a moment before she looked over. What she saw was Dustless's sneering face. You have a sharp tongue. If you're a man, then kill them all for me to see. Temptress Majo said with an ashen face. She was extremely angry and unhappy. She had always been a proud daughter of heaven. Now, Dustless dared to mock her. His attitude was extremely bad. Temptress Majo's self-esteem was constantly shattered. Do you need to test whether I'm a man or not? Or have you seen it before? Dustless asked with a teasing look. You have a nose and eyes, and your figure is not bad. If you want to have a memorable night with me, it's not impossible as long as you kowtow and beg me. She had repeatedly offended and plotted against Dustless. She knew that after being captured alive, she would definitely be tortured by this guy. Tempting Night Beauty Jo hated men very much, and her temper was very arrogant. She had the temperament of a queen. How could she tolerate being Dustless's captive? Absolutely not allowed. A deathbed struggle. TSK, whether it is an elf or a human, this is an instinct. When facing danger, it is absolutely impossible to bow down and give up. Sensing the spiritual power fluctuation in Tempting Night Beauty Jo's body, Dustless smiled faintly and still walked over. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus more chapters, 3,000 rewards plus more chapters, 1,000 evaluation votes plus more chapters, 500 automatic subscriptions plus more chapters. Chapter 2144. Don't come over, or we'll fight to the death. Temptress Majo threatened. She had already unleashed her spiritual power and almost used all her strength, but she still couldn't stop Dustless's pace. His face was extremely relaxed, as if he was walking leisurely in the clouds. There was no resistance and he walked over gently. As I said before, don't overestimate yourself. With your level, you want to fight to the death with me? Naive little girl. The fish will die, but this net will not be broken, Dustless said slowly. At the same time, he glanced at the embarrassed temptress Meijio and said coldly, as I said before, you will pay a heavy price. Let's start now. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As his voice fell, Dustless disappeared like a ghost. What the hell, how can a mere human be so fast? Temptress Meijio opened her eyes wide and looked around for traces of Dustless. She tried to capture Dustless's figure, but sadly, even though her eyes were sore and stinging, she couldn't find any trace of Dustless. Paw! A crisp sound suddenly spread out, and a strange numbness swept through her body in an instant. Temptress Meijio blushed and turned her head to glare at Dustless angrily. She roared, you dare to hit my butt. Stinky hooligan, scum, you are wasting human resources by living. If I were you, I would find a place where there is no one around and hang myself. Very quickly, Xiao Meijio reacted and said evil words. Hee, you continue to talk, I'll do it. As his voice fell, Dustless winked at Temptress Meijio and smiled. You bastard. Temptress Meijio was furious. Then, her thin lips opened slightly, and a pleasant song came from her throat, making people addicted. Boom boom boom. However, this heavenly song was extremely dangerous and contained a terrifying sound wave attack. The moment he heard the song, Dustless's mind roared. It was as if there was a time bomb buried in his body that suddenly exploded. Bang, bang, bang. Dustless's body was blasted into pieces by the sound wave. His perfectly fine body flew out like a fairy scattering flowers. However, what was intriguing was that when a person's body exploded, the debris that flew out should be bones and blood, but what floated out of Dustless's body was shiny light. Furthermore, what made Dustless most depressed was that in the blink of an eye, the splashing resplendent light gathered once again, filling up the original missing parts. Dustless's body was instantly repaired, damn it. What kind of freak is this damned brat? Why does he have such an unheard of ability? He's just a stinky hooligan. Looking at the recovered Dustless, Temptress Meijio stomped her feet. Her words were filled with jealousy. If only she had such a heaven-defying ability. You don't have a brain at all. Dustless sighed and said sympathetically, I told you before. I am a flash person who ate the flash fruit. All physics won't work. As you can see, even if you are lucky enough to attack me, it won't have the slightest effect. I will be restored without limit. You, Temptress Meijio, didn't attack. Dustless's lazy tone seemed to be mocking her own weakness. This volcano suddenly erupted. Is your ability that great? If you are a man, then have a fair fight with me. Temptress Meijio pouted. Her angry appearance was very flirtatious. Her towering cleavage swayed back and forth, almost bursting out of her dress. Gulp. Seeing this scene, even with Dustless's temperament, he couldn't help but stagnate. He immediately sighed. Some people are particularly eye-catching when they are angry, but it's still the same sentence. Whether I am a man or not, why don't you take off your clothes and let's try it? With a playful smile on his cheeks, Dustless's face was extremely thick. Such shameless words were said calmly. You are shameless. Temptress Meijio was instantly embarrassed. Her snow-like face was covered with a sickly blush. Compared with Dustless, her face was too thin. Full of flaws. Gently glancing at Temptress Meijio, Dustless once again turned into a stream of light and rushed out. He circled behind Temptress Meijio with lightning speed and gently raised his big hand fell again. Paw! It was the same crisp sound as before. It lingered in the dead silent concert venue for a long time. It was accompanied by a burst of fragrance quietly spreading to every corner. Ah, bastard, I want to die with you. Temptress Meijio was stunned at first. After a few seconds of being dumbfounded, she went berserk. She roared at the top of her voice. She didn't have the slightest demeanor of a lady. She was like a servant who had been wronged. There was no doubt that her violent temper was exposed. She turned around and slapped Dustless. As everyone knows, Temptress Majo is an out-and-out lesbian. Men are cockroaches in her eyes. She will feel disgusted even if they say a word. Now, she was humiliated by Dustless and spanked twice. Even a clay figurine would have a clay figurine, let alone Temptress Majo who hates men. Boom. It seemed like an ordinary slap, but it contained a great energy fluctuation. Under anger, Temptress Majo covered her palm with all her spiritual power. If ordinary people were slapped, they would die on the spot. At this moment, she was really murderous. Bang! Such a dangerous slap hit Dustless head-on. His body trembled slightly. This time, he didn't even use the Devil Fruit's elemental transformation ability. This bastard, after being stunned for a while, Temptress Majo's face turned green. She cursed secretly, "What is this bastard made of? Why is his skin as hard as a diamond? He is fine after being slapped." The slap hit Dustless, but nothing happened at all. Instead, Temptress Majo's arm trembled from the rebounding force. Her entire arm softened and was easily caught by Dustless. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Dustless said seriously. In fact, he was just deliberately scaring Temptress Majo. I promise you. From now on, I will be your servant. Gritting her teeth, Temptress Majo finally succumbed to Dustless's conditions. She did not dare to gamble. If Dustless really did that, her life would be over. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Dustless was envious of such a powerful ability that could even allow him to travel back in time, and he longed to have it. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2147. Itsuka Kotori's house. Thinking of Tokisaki Kurumi's unhappy face, but she had no choice but to lower her head, Dustless felt an indescribable joy in his heart. Tokisaki Kurumi was extremely seductive, as dangerous as a poppy flower, but also irresistible. However, her personality was as stubborn as the seductress Majo. Dustless knew that he didn't have the ability to conquer this thorny rose. After all, not everyone had the same protagonist aura as Itsuka Shido. That was why Dustless had spent a lot of effort to force them to lower their heads. Now that he finally had some progress, he could not help but feel relieved. Kamui. Dustless activated his ocular skill and the void in front of him distorted. He then jumped into it. The gloomy world was deathly still. There were no signs of life. The entire world was gray, just like the scene of the beginning of the world. As far as the eye could see, this world was filled with endless skyscrapers, but there wasn't a single human or living being. Even the air that entered the lungs was suffused with depression and coldness. It was undeniable that living in such a depressing environment was truly incomparably gloomy. After a long time, no matter who it was, they would be able to endure it. Unexpectedly, Wu Chen was no exception. Just think about it, if there was only one person in a world, wouldn't that be boring to death? Buzz buzz buzz, a series of ripples appeared in the sky. A young man with his hands behind his back slowly walked out of the ripples. There was a faint smile on his handsome face. Who else but Dustless could enter the Kamui dimension other than the trapped enemies? Miss Toshiaki Kurumi. You look really pathetic. Dustless lowered his head and looked at the ground. He quickly found Toshiaki Kurumi's trace and walked over to her. Bastard, seeing Dustless walking over, Toshiaki Kurumi cursed in her heart. If it were not for the difference in strength, she would not mind giving Dustless a good beating. Looking at her, Toshiaki Kurumi's eyes were gloomy. She looked like a patient who had just recovered from a serious illness. Her spirit was dispirited. Her white cheeks were also very dull. She looked very gloomy. This was all thanks to Dustless. After being locked up for so many days, Toshiaki Kurumi had been tormented by loneliness. Huff, seeing Dustless finally appear, Toshiaki Kurumi's eyes glowed with a strong desire to win. Let me out and I'll agree to all your conditions. From today onwards, I'll be your slave. I didn't force you. I'm a very democratic person. Dustless put on a kind face. But in Toshiaki Kurumi's eyes, you're a good person. Then I'm a saint. But, Dustless's tone suddenly changed. Since you've agreed to be my slave, I can't refuse. Naturally, I have to take in a poor homeless person like you. So, from today onwards, you're mine. If I tell you to go east, you have to go to the end of the world. Chapter 2148. Dustless felt wronged when he saw the greedy eyes of the girls. He glanced at Tokisaki Kurumi and saw her gloating expression. He knew that she did it on purpose. Itsuka Kotori and the rest were all jealous, and Tokisaki Kurumi made use of their pure thoughts. For example, kissing Wu-chin just now was to get rid of these jealous people. Needless to say, Tokisaki Kurumi was very smart. She winked at Wu-chin, flirted with him, and purposely straightened her body. At the same time, she looked at Itsuka Kotori provocatively. Her mocking gaze was clearly saying, "Don't be envious of me, you airport runway. Don't get carried away." Itsuka Kotori's expression changed. She glared at Tokisaki Kurumi and snorted proudly. "I'm still young. When I grow up, my body will make you feel ashamed." But when she said that, Itsuka Kotori didn't sound confident. She wasn't sure what would happen in the future. She was just bickering. How could an outsider like Tokisaki Kurumi be so arrogant? She couldn't tolerate it. "It's all your fault for bringing back such a jinx." She glared at Wu-chin with an unfriendly gaze. Itsuka Kotori pushed all the responsibility to him. If it wasn't for him being a busybody and bringing Tokisaki Kurumi back, this wouldn't have happened. "What does it have to do with me? Didn't you ask me to conquer the elves? Now you're blaming me." Dustless rolled his eyes when he saw Itsuka Kotori's glare. At the same time, he glared at Tokisaki Kurumi. He knew that she did it on purpose to make everyone angry. "Ha ha ha," Tokisaki Kurumi suddenly chuckled. She stared at Wu-chin as if she had discovered a new continent. She didn't care about the disgust in the eyes of the people around her. "I seem to have discovered your weakness. You don't seem to be able to do anything against them." Dustless looked at Tokisaki Kurumi as if he was an idiot. He couldn't be bothered to waste his breath on her. Tokisaki Kurumi had sneakily kissed him on the cheek, but she didn't seal her power. This meant that Tokisaki Kurumi didn't have a good impression of Dustless. It was unrealistic for him to obtain her power. Tokisaki Kurumi's impression of you is the same as seducing Meijo. They're both 0. Rain Murasame came over. Her eyes were filled with confusion. "You used seducing Meijo to deal with Tokisaki Kurumi?" "More or less." Wu-chin nodded and immediately told Murasame Rain all the cause of everything, including the secret of Kamui, space imprisoning Shikaki Kurumi. "No wonder her impression of you is 0. After a while, Murasame Ling-in suddenly understood and immediately smiled bitterly. "To be honest, you are really a freak. They obviously hate you very much, but you use means to threaten them, and they are all very obedient. In addition to dating, this is also another shortcut to conquer the elves. Bullshit shortcut. It's all because I'm strong. Dustless snorted and said disapprovingly, if one day I become weak, Tokisaki Kurumi will definitely kill me, cut me into 8 pieces, and whip my corpse. Seducing Meijyo will probably do the same. The reason why they lowered their heads was because of Dustless's strength. You know yourself well. Rain Murasame laughed and didn't deny it. After all, it was a fact. If Tokisaki Kurumi and seducing Meijyo really had the means to deal with Dustless, they definitely wouldn't let him go easily. However, it's a pity that they won't have the chance to suppress me in this life. They are destined to crawl under my feet obediently. Dustless stared at Tokisaki Kurumi for a while and immediately went upstairs to sleep. He completely ignored Tokisaki Kurumi and Tokisaki Kurumi who were arguing. No matter what, as long as they don't fight, they can do whatever they want. At the same time, in another direction. What an amazing guy. Even that Yuri girl was tamed. If this continues, we won't be able to do anything. That guy will capture all the elves in one fell swoop. In the DM company, Isaac Ray Pelham Wiskett, who was one of the company's top executives, looked down at the skyscrapers outside the window. He, who always looked confident, frowned deeply at this moment. His face was full of confusion. Until now, he still hadn't figured out what kind of person Wu Qin was and why he was so heaven-defying. His strength was unprecedentedly strong. Even the elf was crushed and subdued. Even the most difficult seducer Meijyo lowered her arrogant head at this moment. He's indeed very strange. The blonde beauty standing beside Isaac Ray Pelham Wiskett was Irene, who had a grudge with Dustless a while ago. She was also quite surprised. After all, seducing Meijyo was the most difficult Yuri to deal with, but she was still defeated by Dustless and lowered her arrogant head obediently. Even though they were enemies, Irene couldn't help but admire Dustless. You think that guy is amazing, don't you? At some point, Isaac Ray Pelham Wiskett had begun to stare at Ellen, and his bottomless eyes were suffused with a terrible oily light. No. That guy is just using some despicable and boring methods. How can he be compared to him? Irene felt uncomfortable being stared at. She quickly denied it loudly. No matter what, let's not care about other things. First, we have to deal with the problem of the princess. I remember Dustless named her Yuri Toka, right? It's a nice name, but it's a pity. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2149. No matter what, let's not care about anything else. First, we have to deal with the problem of the princess. I remember Dustless named her Nightblade God 10 Fragrances, right? It's a good name, but it's a pity. Isaac Ray Pelham Wiskett muttered to himself. His gaze was deep as he stared at the tall buildings in the distance. His calm gaze suddenly revealed a monstrous ambition. If possible, it's best to capture that Dustless guy as well. Pfft. Hearing this, Irene spat out all the hot water she drank. Her expression was extremely awkward. What's the problem? Or did I say something wrong? Isaac Ray Pelham Wiskett frowned and said in an unfriendly tone. His tone was very gloomy and cold. No. Realizing that she had lost her composure, Irene quickly apologized awkwardly. It's just that my stomach hasn't been feeling well recently. I'm feeling a little nauseous, is that so? After taking a deep look at Irene, Isaac Ray Pelham Wiskett didn't bother to continue thinking about this issue. He just put his hands in his trouser pockets, and his gaze was incomparably distant. That clear gaze seemed to be able to hide from him. Phew. Seeing that the shrewd and terrifying man in front of her was not acting strangely, Irene heaved a sigh of relief. Her current situation was like living with a king was like living with a tiger. She could not guess what Isaac Ray Pelham Westcott was thinking. Of course, there was also a unique pressure, the fear of a superior. The reason why she spat out the water just now was because Irene felt that Westcott's thoughts were too naive. Was Dustless someone that could be captured just because he wanted to? It was not that simple. To put it bluntly, when facing Dustless, Irene did not have the slightest confidence. Not to mention capturing Dustless alive, it would be a blessing from the heavens if she was not captured alive. Please don't ask me to deal with that damn pervert. Thinking of how terrifying Dustless was, Irene could not help but shiver. She could not help but pray in her heart. She really did not want to fight with Dustless. She was not a match for him at all. Or to put it bluntly, it was suicide. Irene. I have something for you to do. At the same time, Westcott suddenly turned around and stared at Irene. His gaze was so bright that it could melt a person. Don't tell me, he wants me to deal with Dustless. The corners of Irene's mouth twitched a few times, but she could only bite the bullet and say, Please speak, Your Excellency. I'll leave the task of dealing with Yedao Shintoxiang and Dustless to you. Don't disappoint me. Westcott said in a serious tone. His expression was meticulous and it was obvious that he wasn't joking. Finally, he instructed, Remember, you must capture the two of them. That's easy for you to say. One of them is an elf, and the other's strength is unfathomable. At the very least, he's stronger than the elves. Do you think I'm a god? P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2151. Rely on you. Hearing this, a bright light flashed across Irene's eyes. It was as fast as lightning, disappearing in less than a second. She's really moved. I told you, as long as she has ambition, as long as she's ambitious, she'll be able to see how special I am. Relying on me is just a matter of benefits. Even though the light in Irene's eyes disappeared in an instant, Dustless saw it clearly. He immediately understood that Irene was moved. However, this was normal. After all, Wei Court was just a human. No matter how great his achievements were in the future, they were already fixed. On the other hand, Dustless had a mysterious background and was unrivaled in strength. Clearly, he had a better future. Secondly, Wei Court had sent Irene to challenge Dustless. She knew that she would be crushed, but she was still sent to her death. Irene's heart was already somewhat conflicted. That's right, rely on me. A fine bird chooses a fine tree to nest in. You can choose for yourself. Dustless's mouth was as sweet as honey. He enticingly said, What Wei Court can give you, I can also give you. What he can't give you, I can also give you. Why should I believe you? Although she was somewhat moved, Irene was still somewhat hesitant. Dustless wanted to gain something without risking anything. There was no way he could fool her with an empty promise. Why? Because of this. Dustless looked at Irene with disdain and clenched his fists. He raised his voice. Because I'm stronger than you, that's all. Nonsense. In the end, you're still trying to trick me into killing Wei Court. Irene coldly snorted. She grabbed Toka tightly and looked at Dustless as if she was facing a great enemy. Bad woman, Dustless has no reason to lie to you. Toka also took the opportunity to speak. He said seriously, Dustless was the one who took me in back then. He's very good to me. There's no reason to lie to you, nor is there a reason. Dustless had accompanied Yedao God Toka to go shopping, go on dates, go to the movies. Especially when he bought all kinds of delicious food for free. That's because you're too stupid and too naive. Don't treat everyone as a foodie like you. Irene looked at Toka disapprovingly. Dustless was able to conquer Toka with just food. This only meant that she was too naive and could eat too much. After wasting half a day of my time, you still don't understand. Dustless realized that Irene was still on guard against him. The gentleness on his face gradually disappeared. Since you don't listen to me, I can only use my strength to trample you. Swish. 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 As soon as he finished speaking, the sharp sound of something breaking through the air resounded through the entire house. In an instant, Nightblade god Toxiang seemed to have been invaded by the sun. The bright light was extremely dazzling. Countless rays of light converged and emitted a scorching light. So dazzling. Irene quickly closed her eyes. If she looked at the ball of light for one more second, her eyes would be blinded. The moment Irene closed her eyes, a black shadow suddenly appeared in front of her. It directly pushed Irene's arm away and snatched Nightblade god Toka away. Damn it! Realizing that she was empty-handed and that Nightblade god Toka was suddenly snatched away by Dustless, Irene immediately lowered her head and cursed. She suddenly opened her eyes and endured the discomfort in her eyes. Her gaze was locked on Dustless, who was close at hand. In just a moment, the equipment of AST members appeared on her body. Her equipment was different from those of Liaozi Under the Sun, Tokichi Origami, and the others. She also held a sharp beam saber in her hand. A rare display device. Staring at the imposing Irene, who was glaring at him with hostility, Dustless smiled carelessly. But if you think that this kind of scrap metal can deal with me, it only shows that you're too naive. Scrap metal. Hearing this, Irene's little face darkened. She was hit hard by Dustless's words. The display device she used was very different from the display devices used by AST members. It was more powerful and designed in more areas. It was much more advanced than the display devices of Tokichi Origami and the others. But at this moment, it became the scrap metal in Dustless's mouth. This was naked slander and disdain. You'll regret this. Irene's little face changed dramatically. She held the beam saber in her hand and slashed horizontally. Her speed was extremely fast. In just a blink of an eye, the beam saber held by Irene hit Dustless's head. Poochie. Dustless's whole body was suddenly split into two. It was easily split into two by the beam saber. This disgusting ability again. Don't tell me there's no flaw. Witnessing Dustless being instantly killed, Irene wasn't happy at all. Dustless, who had been split in half, only turned into a sparkling photon. Then, he was perfectly restored to his original state. That hateful face was restored once again. You're too weak. Dustless said softly. His tone was very light, but when it fell on Irene's ears, it was as heavy as Mount Tai. He mocked her for being a frog at the bottom of a well. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. In anger, Irene once again slashed the beam saber at Dustless. Clang clang. This time, Dustless obviously did not want to continue playing house with Irene. Seeing the beam saber coming at him, he calmly reached out and grabbed it. His big hand was hit by the beam saber and made a crisp roar. It was like hitting steel. Bright sparks flashed in an instant. Why is this guy's hand so hard? Ai Lian looked at Wu Qin in astonishment. She stared at his fair right hand, which was holding the beam saber calmly. He was safe and sound. Nothing happened to him at all. Caw caw caw, Dustless exerted a little force. The beam saber in his hand suddenly had cracks visible to the naked eye on its surface. The cracks spread to the entire blade at an extremely fast speed. How strong is this damn pervert? He actually crushed my weapon with his bare hands. Irene looked at Dustless in a daze. Her gaze was as if she was looking at a monster. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.